Chapter 17. Sunday, the day of Christmas Eve. Dylan. Kelly's dress and slip were still laying on the hotel bed. Dylan frowned as he looked at his watch. Time was steadily ticking by, and they were due in the ballroom for a Sunday morning church service with the rest of the family. Caden? Yeah? Caden's voice came from the other room, through the half-open door. Is everyone dressed and ready? Asked Dylan, checking to see if his tie was straight in the mirror. Yes, we're watching television and waiting for you, replied Caden. We are going to be late, muttered Dylan, eyeing the dress on the bed. Approaching the bathroom door, Dylan knocked on it. Kelly, we need to get going soon. I don't think we are going to church today. Kelly's voice was shaky. Opening the door, Dylan found a pale Kelly sitting on the edge of the tub in her nightgown, holding on to her distended stomach with one hand. Kel? I'm fine. Kelly gave a brave smile that didn't reach her eyes. I might be in labor. For a moment, Dylan froze. He dragged in a breath and reminded himself that he and Kelly had figured out a plan. All he had to do was stick to it and not panic. Okay, I'll grab the bag and let Josh know. Car or ambulance? Car, chose Kelly as she grimaced and rubbed her abdomen. And grab the hotel robe. It'll be warm enough with the weather. I don't want my coat. Plus, I need my shoes. Dylan hurried to grab the robe and shoes. Setting the robe across Kelly's thigh and the shoes on the ground, Dylan gave her a quick kiss. You work on the robe. I will tell Josh. Do not attempt the shoes. We don't want a repeat of last time. Last time was funny. Kelly had a half smile at the memory. Yes, but not now. Dylan gave her hand a squeeze before going to the connecting room where the boys and Cece were watching television. Josh, you're in charge. You all need to shut off the television and go down to service. If anyone asks, your mom is having the baby. Really? Awesome! Can we come to the hospital? Yes. I wouldn't call it awesome. No, absolutely not. You're all better off here at the hotel. Dylan answered their questions. I will call once Jackson is born. Until then, order room service, play with the other kids, obey Josh, and if we're not back by tonight, go to bed no more than an hour after bedtime. Cool, grinned Avery. And no gorging on junk, added Dylan hastily. I'm going to go help your mom. Congratulations, Mr. Rameslys, beamed Cece. Thanks, nodded Dylan before retreating back to Kelly. As he left the room, he could already hear Josh telling the kids to shut off the television and grab their suit jackets. Thank goodness for the 16-year-old. Kelly's brother would keep the boys in line. Not that Dylan was worried about Caden or Cece, but Avery and Bentley could be a handful at times. Okay, everything is settled. Dylan crouched down in front of the now robed Kelly to help her into her shoes. All we need to do is get to the hospital. Dylan? Whispered Kelly. Yes? He stopped tying a shoelace, his stomach bottoming out at her pained expression. I revised my earlier plan, winced Kelly. I think the ambulance might be a better call. This baby's coming faster than Bentley did. Okay. Dylan tried to keep the worry out of his voice and failed. I'll call them. They can come to the room. That way you won't even have to move. Good idea, nodded a relieved Kelly. Just how long have you been having contractions? Wondered Dylan as he used his cell phone to call emergency services. I didn't want to wake you, confessed Kelly. They could have been the false contractions like last time. How long? How far apart? Questioned a concerned Dylan. Since midnight? Shrugged Kelly. I don't have a watch, and I left my cell phone in the nightstand, so I'm not timing them. Kelly, groaned Dylan. We talked about the cell phone and how you should always have it on you. We did, but you were sleeping so nicely, explained Kelly. I thought the contractions might go away. I was really hoping Jackson would be a Christmas baby. Yes, we need an ambulance. Dylan was distracted by the phone as emergency services came on the line. My wife is having our baby. Kelly sucked in a breath, doubling over for a particularly nasty contraction. They might want to hurry. Dylan relayed the instructions as he began timing Kelly's pains. Where are Dylan and Kelly? Wondered Max as he looked around the private room of the restaurant. It was after service, and everyone had gathered for coffee, tea, and a light luncheon. Don't know, frowned Jake.
Would have thought they would be here. Dylan's usually bugging us to come to church. It's not like him to miss it."
"The kids were here," mentioned Sterling. "I know I saw them." "Then they must be around somewhere," suggested Paget. "Or maybe Kelly wasn't feeling well and decided to skip service." "They have gone to the hospital," inserted Anne as she stirred her tea. "I overheard Cece and Amy talking. Apparently, Jackson has decided to join the Ramesley family."
"Do you think he'll be a Christmas baby?"
asked a delighted Max. "For Kelly's sake, I hope he comes today on Christmas Eve," Paget said dryly as she selected a bagel.
"Is that Kepler?"
questioned Jake as he tried to look around a waiter.
"What is he doing here?"
Max sighed.
"He wants our passports."
"What?" a shocked Sterling asked in disbelief. "He can't do that. People are going on their honeymoons."
"That's what he told Gabe,"
shrugged Max.
"If I could have everyone's attention," announced Kepler from the front of the room. He taped a paper to the wall. "I have a court order. You can all take pictures of it to send to your lawyers. It states that I can confiscate your passports. I expect all of you to meet me in Ballroom C in exactly 20 minutes to surrender your passports. Anyone who decides to withhold theirs will face legal action. Good day." As Kepler strode from the room, Jake abruptly stood, going straight for the paper taped to the wall. Pulling it free, he began to peruse the document.
"Is Kepler really able to take our passports?" questioned Sterling as she came beside her husband.
"According to this document, he can," bit off Jake. He shook his head. "The good news is, you and I are planning on staying in country anyways. The bad news is, I'm pretty certain Gabe, Parker, and Marshall had all planned out-of-country trips." "Not the best news of the day," grimaced Marshall as Jake handed the document to him. He gave it a brief look over before handing it to the next Ramsley waiting to have a look at the court order. "Seems to have put a damper on the weekend."
"No kidding," sighed Sterling. "Kepler has impeccable timing."
"Guess we had better find our passports."
Jake put an arm around Sterling. It didn't take long for the room to empty, as everyone went to gather the requested passports. 20 minutes later, most had gathered inside Ballroom C, where the FBI agent was impatiently waiting.
"This is ridiculous,"
groused Parker, as he reluctantly handed over his passport to Kepler. "I have travel plans."
"It's a court order,"
curtly replied Kepler as he accepted the government identification.
"I'm sure you can afford to reschedule the honeymoon." "When are you going to stop harassing us, Kepler?" questioned Jake as he gave up his passport. "Is it even possible for you to take our passports when you haven't charged any of us with a crime yet?" "Again, court order," repeated Kepler. "I'm going to talk to my lawyer about this," threatened Jake. "If you have a complaint to make, you can write it down for me, and I will make certain it gets to the appropriate person," murmured Kepler as he stared down Jake. "Next." Henry put a hand on Jake's shoulder, hoping to de-escalate his cousin's temper. "He is just doing his job." "Speaking of his job, has he made any headway in his investigation, or are we just going to have our accounts frozen until all our businesses fold?" questioned an unamused Noah with an edge to his voice. Kepler took Henry's passport and ignored Noah. "Michael, your passport?" "Wait a minute," inserted Max, defending his brother. "Michael has been cleared. He's no longer any part of your investigation." Michael frowned at Kepler as Anne slipped her arm through his, leaning close to him. "That isn't entirely true. While he has been cleared of any drug trafficking charges, it is yet to be determined if he had any knowledge or involvement in laundering the proceeds of the drug trafficking," a satisfied Kepler stated. "I still want his passport."
"Really, Bill?" tutted an annoyed Bree. "Is it truly necessary?"
"Yes," replied Kepler as he took his cell phone out of his pocket and noted a message. He returned the phone to his suit pocket and looked at the Ramesley family. "This isn't just about the investigation of money laundering and drug smuggling. As of 2 days ago, murder has been added to the list of crimes the Ramsleys are involved in."
"Murder?" questioned Everett in surprise.
"David Ramsley has died in hospital, after being transferred there from prison," announced Kepler. "The autopsy results have indicated it's a homicide."
"What? He is kidding, right?
Uncle David was murdered? I thought he just went to the hospital for a heart issue."
Voices murmured over one another as they took in the news.
"You didn't notify Mom,"
noted Noah with a glare at the FBI agent.
"She would have told us." "She isn't his widow," pointed out Kepler. "Technically, David was already legally married before he illegally wed your mother, Rachel. Now, I'm in charge of finding David's murderer. I will be questioning you and your brothers, including all of David's sons. Where is Molson Colburn, anyways?"
"Molson had nothing to do with David," defended Drew.
"He has barely even seen the guy. Yet he went to great lengths to defy his father and get him arrested," mused Kepler. "Molson must really hate David." "A lot of people hate David," responded Drew. "As law enforcement, you and I both understand hate does not make someone a killer. Molson is a doctor. He helps people. If you would do your job properly, you would already know that."
"Do his job?" scoffed Noah.
"Agent Kepler does not have a clue how to properly do his job. That's why he keeps targeting innocent people."
Kepler flushed red in anger, his icy blue eyes blazing. He was about to reply when a passport was waved in front of him.
"I think Kepler knows exactly what he is about,"
a grim Gabe said as he gave Kepler his passport.
"I think he's just waiting for the wrong person to make a move. Then he'll pounce like a cat."
"You didn't tell them I wanted their passports," noted Kepler as he took the government identification and put it with the rest he was accumulating. Gabe shrugged.
"I don't play head games. However, I wish you luck with yours if you manage to catch the guilty persons."
"Perhaps you'd like to say something which might further the investigation?" an intrigued Kepler asked.
"I have nothing to tell you,"
answered Gabe. He turned away, walking toward Garrett as Michael handed over his and Anne's passports to the FBI agent. Gabe brushed shoulders with Garrett, stopping. In a low voice he murmured,
"If you ever step foot in one of Parker's hospitals again, I will send the security footage of you stealing drugs to Kepler." "I look a lot like you, Gabe,"
pointed out Garrett in a soft voice, entirely unconcerned.
"Are you sure you want to give him the video? Kepler might think you're outing yourself." "I'm covering for you this time because you are family," warned Gabe. "Next time, I won't."
"I will remember it," murmured Garrett, looking at Gabe with irritated eyes.
"Perhaps you might ask if I had a valid reason for my behavior. Don't worry, it won't happen again."
"See that it doesn't," remarked Gabe before returning to Brittany's side and wrapping an arm around her. "Should we give your cousins our condolences on the death of their father?" wondered Brittany.
"Not exactly sure. It's not like he was a great father to them,"
muttered Gabe. He frowned as the door opened to the conference room.
"This room is for the Rameslys family only,"
a peeved Kepler conveyed as a man entered, closing the door behind himself.
"You need to leave."
If you enjoyed this chapter of The Wedding, Book 10 of the Rameslys Brothers series, think about subscribing to the channel. Thank you and happy listening.